What's good, G Life? This right here is South Central Los Angeles. We'll be covering the tagging crews that became neighborhoods. This is the second part to the South Central portion that I had done on crews that became varrios. You know what I mean? Because yes, there is that many. This should be covering the last of them and then maneuvering our way to the west side to cover them, tagging crews that became neighborhoods. But right here, this is the low bottoms of South Central. The low bottoms is considered the most treacherous part of South Central, gang infested, where it's hectic, my boy. You know what I mean? This is where it's grimy, gritty, and gutter, homie. You know, the real ghetto, as they say. And yes, jam-packed full of neighborhoods, and yes, there was a lot of tech bangers at the time as well, and these crews, you know, achieved the status as varrios, you know what I mean? So we will be covering the rest of the neighborhoods that used to be crews that come from this area, you know, that come out of the desmadre and represent for theirs. But so without further ado, let's get into it right here. Now, as we maneuver our way down to the low bottoms being considered the roughest terrain within South Central. You know, this is where the greedy, gritty, grimy, you know, is at, you know, because of all the neighborhoods jam-packed within this area. Not only Hispanic, but African-American. It's chaotic, you know what I mean? It's hectic. It's brutal, man. Hey, right here's the real deal, Holyfield, you know what I mean? And this is home to another tagging crew, you know, that became a neighborhood. But these guys also, you know, were tag bangers. Not really so much, you know, graffiti guys, but more of a tag bang-ish crew. That's pretty old school. You know what I mean? I remember, you know, bumping into some of these guys within the mid-90s. When they were just a tag banging crew at the time. I remember bumping into a homie Wito, which is the BE standing for Barrio Evil. Before it had several different meanings. One of the ones I would hear is like Brown Empire, Beyond Evil or something like that. You know what I mean? But it has several meanings. But now it just stands for Barrio Evil. Barrio Evil, it's, you know, the term that they use and all that. And you can find these guys located within the 30s and 40s. So it's like 43rd or 33rd and you know, throughout that area of South Central. You know what I mean? They're pretty average size for a neighborhood, considering they had clicked up with another tag banging crew, you know, to align themselves with their hood. That was on its way to becoming a neighborhood as well. And like I said, they were a pretty decent sized tag banging crew as it was. So, you know, that just increased their numbers, and then they, you know, achieved the status of neighborhood roughly around the 2000s. Early 2000s, and have been holding it down right here ever since. You know what I mean? These guys have the riders. You definitely hear about them. You see them up. They have some rappers too. If you want to check them out right here on YouTube, you can just scope out their music. And they be doing their thing, homie. They be handling business and been handling business right here within South Central, you know, holding it down for their section and their clica, and, you know, and putting it down, you know, like I said, just because, you know, someone had the background of a tagger don't mean shit. And some of them do achieve that status of, you know, earning their stripes, and, you know, just like they have. And that's what's up with the Barrio Evil, holding it down right here in the low bottoms. Now, as we make our way up right here, still right here maintaining in South Central, now we're heading to the 50ths, where we'll find the next crew that became a neighborhood, which is KDP. KDP was a tag banging crew, tagging/tag banging crew. You know what I mean? That was hasn't been around that long. It was only around since the early 2000s. Didn't transition into a neighborhood into as of recent. You know what I mean? So they only have like about a few years that they've been a neighborhood. And KDP translates to crazy down players. No affiliation with the other player sets. You know what I mean? Except, you know, that they have the player part. But these are the crazy down players. Right here in South Central, and they claim turf what's on 54. 54th is their domain, is their dojo. It's where they get it on and crack it, you know what I mean? But not only on 54, but they also claim turf on like on the 80ths and Watts, so like 89th throughout over there to like 100 and something, 105th is where like you'll find you know, another branch of theirs, because they do have several clicas, even though they were They haven't been around that long. Because it was a pretty average size tag banging crew. So they're not really like deep, you know, for a neighborhood. I was told that they're roughly only like about 50 heads, so a little bit more on the more smaller side. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, homie, they have their representatives, the ones that put it down for their neighborhood. You know what I mean? They, you know, they ain't no lackeys. You know, they will get it on and cracking. But yeah, they've been holding it down, and you do see like their hit ups and everything like that. So they are active. You know what I mean? Because you do see the activity by these guys. But that's what's up with the KDP representing right there for theirs and putting theirs on the map. You know what I mean? But that's what's up with the Crazy Down players. Now, as we make our way up right here to the 40s, still right here in South Central, and this is an interesting one because this one is located also in the A1A Valley, and I was told in several other spots like the Antelope Valley and Bakersfield, and it is the same neighborhood, you know, but this is their breeding ground right here in South Central Los Angeles, which is the GFS neighborhood. Now, the GFS neighborhood, there were a tagging crew that became a tag banging crew, then transitioned into a neighborhood. Now, I had heard that they were going to become a clique for 38. I'm not sure how that was in a roll, but you know, because it's one of those things where the tag banging crews that transition into neighborhoods do end up becoming cliques from barrios. That also does occur. You know, it has happened with several sets, as a matter of fact, throughout Southern California. You know what I mean? But yeah, you have the GFS standing for Goodfellas. They make it stand for several stuff when they were tag bang crew. You know, you have Goodfellas, you have Grifos, you have Get Off Your Style. You had several different meanings that they made it stand for, but Goodfellas is the one that you hear most often. You know what I mean? And like I said, they were large in South Central. They had a large presence in the A1A Valley as well, throughout several cities, you know, San Fernando, Van Nuys, North Hollywood, Burbank, and etc. And in South Central, right here on 43rd, as a matter of fact, that's why you always see it up as GFS 43rd Street. That is how it's written. But that is who they were, you know what I mean? They were a tagging crew that transitioned into a tagging crew that, you know, made its way like that. And they were a tagging crew they were a pretty old school tagging crew already since the early 90s, you know what I mean? Cause I definitely remember these guys. I bumped into them a few times. I've been hit up by them. And they had some homies from that set that, hey, they had balls, homie. I ain't even gonna lie. You know, they had homies that were busted, that were witty, you know what I mean? They had writers for their set. I ain't even gonna sit right here in front, you know what I mean? That's how I know that these guys for sure are with the business, you know, because I bumped into several heads. I want to say I bumped into more than like 30 of them. You know, and you know, they're pretty with it. You know, they were down for theirs, you know what I mean? They were down for theirs just like homies are down for a barrio. You know, so it's not a surprise to me to hear that. But yeah, that's what's up with the GFS right here, representing on 43rd and holding it down right here in South Central, their birthplace. Now, another neighborhood that became a crew that is located in several spots throughout this side of Los Angeles. You have the Uno Sinvergüenza, the USV. USV is a neighborhood that used to be a tag banging crew, because they were always tag bangers. Their thing was that they were never like taggers; they were always tag bangers. You know what I mean? They always, you know, carried themselves like, you know, like gangsters. And that was always their meaning for their hood. It was always Uno Sinvergüenza. Now that translates in English. It translates to the ones without shame. You know, so they're shameless. So they got no shame to their, you know, they got no shame to their game. You know what I mean? That is what their neighborhood translates to, and they are located in several spots because yes, they are the same ones as the ones in Compton. They are the same ones that you see in South Central and in the west side of Los Angeles. So they have different cliques throughout these sides, but it's all the same barrio. So you have the west side, Unos Sinvergüenzas, you have the Compton, Unos Sinvergüenzas, and then you have the South Central Unos Sinvergüenzas, and they're all the same barrio. Now, in each spot, they're not that large. You know what I mean? In each spot, they're roughly like only like about like 15 heads. I was told that in the west side is where they had their largest presence, which was roughly about 40 heads there, and then Compton and South Central about like 15 apiece. So it's a neighborhood of like roughly like about 60 heads. So a little bit more smaller than the norm, but like I said, these guys definitely put on the map. You see the activity by these guys. These guys ain't no suckers. You know what I'm saying? They got homies that put it down and ride for theirs. They ain't no chumps. And you can find them right here in South Central, close to the 50s as well, colliding with several hoods. Seems like they got a lot of beef. Seems like a lot of people don't really are too fond of them, especially beefing it right here with Niños Sureños, which was another tagging crew that transitioned into a neighborhood. And they definitely have the feud between them two. But they both achieved the status of neighborhood, considering that they were both tagging crews. And both continue to still represent and put it down and have their members holding it down right here. But that's what's up with the Uno Sinvergüenza, still holding it down and still representing for theirs right here. Now, here's another neighborhood that came out of right here, out of South Central Los Angeles, and spread like wildfire. You know what I mean? This was a tag banging crew that was around since the 90s, the early 90s as well. So an old school tag banging crew already. They were a tagging crew that transitioned into tag bangers that transitioned into neighborhood. It's the Nightcrawlers, the NC Nightcrawlers. Nightcrawlers is what their meaning is now. That's what their varrio stands for. The only thing that they make their varrio stand for. But before, when they were a tagging crew, they used to stand for no control. No Control was a tank crew that spread like wildfire. They grew large in numbers awfully quickly, because right now, for it being a tank crew that transitioned into a neighborhood, it's large. You know what I mean? It's large even for a neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? These guys spread like wildfire, not only in South Central, but in places like the Southeast, like Norwalk, Artesia, locations like that. And also in the harbor area, like the city of Carson, where they also have a large presence. I was told that they're roughly more than 100 members, already knocking on 200 status. So about 200 members, which, is a average sized neighborhood. But the fact that it used to be a tanker that transitioned into that, and it doesn't have that long, as like some of these other sets, it's a large neighborhood in a sense for the time frame that they have been around and established. I don't know what the recruitment process is, but man, whatever it is, it sure seems to be working for them. Because they got no problem with that, you know what I mean? So they got a lot of heads that represent for them, that hold it down. They got their riders. The Nightcrawlers, is one that you see up and that you hear about. You know what I mean? They got homies that really hold it down for them. You see the activity because these guys still stay true to their fundamentals as well, because you see the graffiti everywhere. And they also have people that hit up nice. You know what I mean? They were a tank crew that you would see up throughout the freeways with bomb pieces that definitely had talent. You know what I mean? And right here, they continue to represent for theirs and hold it down. Right here in the South Central area, you can find them like already like heading more up like towards the 90s. It's where you can find them roaming around. And in Carson, you can find them right there close to Catskill. Seems like they have pretty good relationship with those guys. You know what I mean? And everyone on that side. And then in the Southeast, they're close to the Artesia Park. You know what I mean? So over there by Norwalk and those locations is where you can find them over there. And like I said, they just have several spots where they just, where you can find them, and they're all the same barrio, so it's all one neighborhood. And all these locations don't even stay that far away from each other, so it's like they can go back up each other, you know what I mean? So the numbers are large in each individual location, because considering since they're all the same neighborhood, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, it seems like they're well established, well organized, and continue to represent theirs and put theirs on the map, you know what I mean? And hold it down, like I said, because they grew in numbers and they're still growing. But that's what's up with the NC, the neighborhood that used to be a tape banging crew that stood for No Control and now stands for Nightcrawlers.